So, again, another driving video, although my small GoPro camera is offline, wasted, you would say. Uh, Still plan to get a little bit of working. So anyway, let's keep to the point. I think I never had created a video that actually describes what's actually going on in the channeling. So, as I'm driving a long distance right now, I have pretty much all the time I need to describe this slowly. But I will try to keep it short so you don't have to waste time to watch it long. So, at the beginning, the channeling was really intense. I felt really huge energies, really, back of the neck, top head, forehead, stomach, heart also, and it was really, I would say, really intense. Sometimes it was like panic attacks, cold back of the neck. Sometimes I went cold throughout my body. Stomach just stopped working. Sometimes I just the opposite. I felt really huge heat, and all my body was in really huge heat. Sometimes I felt just that I'm totally out of heat, you would say. I'm totally cold right now. And so, in energetical terms, the transformation or the energy sensing was, we would say, wide range in all ways, huge contrast in all directions. So I would say really tough. But that was just the energies. When the channeling itself actually happened, what did happen? So basically, I was sitting. Well, always I'm sitting. I have been sitting, and then just I concentrate on the entity. I concentrate on the entity that I have felt, or if I have never felt it, I ask for that being, entity, person, or whatever. Then what happens is I start seeing images of him. For example, sometimes there was a famous singer or something, a known actor or something. I start seeing his movies. I start hearing his songs. So sometimes I know these songs, sometimes I don't know these songs. This is just for example, if that's a person. For example, if I try to channel Enrico, I just feel huge excitement, huge. I just start to laugh out of nowhere. And if I contact like angels, like from heaven and so on, I just feel huge love, incredibly huge love. So basically, these are the first steps that I start to feel. And then what happens is, I'm just passing the car. Then what happens is, I just let it go. I just let it happen. I just enter it. And sometimes I see light. Sometimes I see those entities. Sometimes I see, but actually myself, I do not really pay too much attention to what I saw. It's basically what I feel. And then when a connection happens between the entity and me, there's like allowance. So for example, if I allow that being to like energetically take over, well, I would not say take over my body, I would say take over my energy body. I would say like my energy body completely relaxes so that his energy can like act on it. His energy like can, like, you would say connect, you would say telepathically aligning energies. And then what happens is, like, out of nowhere I start receiving images. Out of nowhere I start receiving, it's like, it's not myself that actually is thinking those images. It's not myself that's actually seeing those images. It's not myself that actually is getting that information out of my mind. It's like I feel completely like there is somebody else, completely like there is a complete separation between who am I and what is that energy. And then at the beginning it was quite complicated, quite difficult to like grasp those energies, because those energies sometimes were really high and they just felt like overdosed, like burned sometimes. Well, I think there has been topics about this subject quite a lot. So basically, in short, that there's really intense and really high energy coming through your body, like under electric doses, and it's like your back of the neck, top of the head, your stomach is really working hard. Really, the chakras, the energy centers are really working hard. And this is also the thing is like that caught my attention. Like there's something else going on, because I feel so that there's channeling actually going on, because I feel so high energies. Like and never in meditation I could achieve those energies also. And then what happens is you start to receive those images, those messages, those thought forms. And then the difficult part is actually to translate those messages and thought forms. Well, at first, if you are doing like a telepathical communication, you receive those messages, you think over of them, you try to explain them, and you wait for the person to reply, answer, and you're like completely conscious. But when it's like a full body channeling, I would say I'm conscious, but I'm not even paying attention to what's going on. I'm like sitting and just observing what's going on. But sometimes I get to the point where there's a energy that's coming through a feeling, and that feeling is a story. It's like a second of a story, but it takes me 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes to describe the story. And it's like the energy comes, the information comes, and then the entity, Enrico for example, is talking, and then he's like, stop. And my body stops, my mind stops, everything stops. And there's like, how do you actually translate this? And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, the whole channeling process stops. And I'm like, well, it's a story. And then, okay, let's create a story. And instantly a story is being created. But this happens really fastly. It's not like, okay, no, the audience waits a couple of minutes so that we decide how to do this. But it's like quickly happening. It's really intense. It's like a computer machine working on translation in second. But this all happens in feelings. And how to describe these feelings is basically when you watch a movie, how do you feel? You feel good, you feel excited, you feel funny, you feel scared, and you receive this feeling, and then you try to describe it. But this feeling comes with a lot of information, and sometimes it comes with understanding also. For example, if it's a message or it's an information that you have never known before, and you have a huge understanding, you have a huge blast of understanding, and you definitely know how that works, how that happened, and why that happened. But your talent of describing those things, describing particular understanding, is quite a challenge. So what happens in what has happened? So basically, when I'm on a seminar, when I'm in a seminar, I don't think a lot. It's like, okay, there will be a seminar at 5 p.m. today. Until that 5 p.m., I don't think about anything. Maybe just a couple hours before, I was like, okay, I know that there's a channeling seminar going on. I know that Enrico will be coming through, and I just like open my head a little bit, open my channel a little bit, so that I can feel some energies right now, and so that when I sit at 5 p.m. on that chair, I don't feel I don't need the audience to wait for me to get ready, to get in a line. I just jump in, and that's when I'm in. For example, sometimes when I channel 1 hour at the beginning, and then we take a couple of minute break, like 10-minute break, and then I'm back in channeling. It takes me around 1 minute or 1 to 5 minutes to get in the channeling state. But at first it takes me around 5 to 10 minutes. So basically, if you have done channeling that day before, it takes you much faster to connect back again. And so what does actually happen in channeling when I, for example, sit down in that chair? Well, at first it was a couple of problems for me. There is like 50 people watching, and I feel like really, worried, a little bit stressed, a little bit something like that. And then when I sit down, and I was like, well, will the entity come? Will it not come? Will some channeling happen? Will not channeling happen? So I'm just like a little bit worried if I fail those people. But that was just my worries. When I sit down in that chair, I just straighten up my back, breathe in a couple of times and like, okay, I want to channel right now. And when the couple of first doses of energy comes, what happens is the top of the head gets dizzy. Then I feel energy in my first center shakes a little bit, and then pops out through my spine to the top of the head, and somewhere out where in the universe the energy goes. And then I feel instant connection, but it takes a couple of minutes for the energies to align. For example, Enrico's world. So at first I receive lots and lots of energies, high energies, and then my body normally starts to laugh, like 3 or 5 minutes just laughter. And then when my body energy rises, it's like a connection happens, like my hands move by itself, my body moves by itself, fingers move by itself, breathing happens by itself, and then the energy comes and like just puts you in a relaxed mode, puts you in a sleep mode, puts you in a chill mode. But all the time I have my free will. Whenever I choose to stop, I can stop, and whenever the entity feels that I'm exhausted, they also start saying, okay, we have to stop, last questions and so on. So this is the basic things. Well, then when the channeling actually happens, it's like I feel a huge fall. Okay, so we are ready. Well, the voice is a little bit different. I cannot replay that voice exactly. Nevertheless, the 2 hours of channeling is particularly on the same level of voice. Well, then what happens is at first 10 minutes is like I would say getting more into touch. The information is not coming that clearly, the information is not coming that slowly. Like first 5 to 10 minutes still is like entering the channeling, although he's already speaking, but there's like pauses, and always when Enrico comes, he asks for applause. This is like greetings for the audience to give applause, and always everybody is applauding, and this is really like, okay, so now we can start. And then they start, and then they just blow their information like non-stop, 100 words a minute, maybe more. Just give the information, and there is a channeler also called Bashar, and I would say Enrico gives the same exact information. Maybe sometimes a little bit more to spiritual side, maybe sometimes a little bit more in details, try to explain something, but the information basically is the same. Sometimes I even get laughing because Enrico says also, or in my language, my Latvian language, does this help? Are you sure does this help? Does this help a little bit? Does this help sufficiently? Does this help perfectly? Or this doesn't help anything at all? And the person says, for example, sometimes there was a question about doubts, and Enrico was trying to convince that to the lady that there is no reason for doubts at all, and so on and so on. And then the lady was, okay, now I understand. And Enrico said, are you sure? Yes, I sure understand. Are you really sure? And she said, well, and then everybody started to laugh. So it's like the thing is why he asked this is because he wants to see, for example, the person asked a question, and he wants to just check the reaction, how he answers this question, just to make sure whether that person understood the thing that has been said, because they always watch that, for example, if the information that has been said, I understand that information correctly because I'm in the channeling state and I understand what Enrico is trying to say. But when he is this translation happens, everybody understands by himself. They understand words in different meanings, they understand words in different situations. So basically everybody understands information differently, and just these questions after the answer is given, just to make sure, just to check, and just to see only the answer of that person. Sometimes they still answer yes, and but he feels that this answer was not understood, and then he says, is there something more you want to ask? Do you want to make a specific question or something like this? And this is also, you would say, something to do with the free will law, because at the beginning they said that no entity outside of Earth will ever share information without the person being asked this question, because it's against the free will law. It's like interrupting in our civilization. There is like, you have to be 100% sure that the person really wants to ask this question, and that's why they ask these questions. But I can, and also many times he wants the audience in the room to be aligned on the same topic, aligned on the same question, aligned on the same information, because if he shares the information, that if somebody in the room doesn't want to hear it, he will not share detailed information. He wants the whole audience to be on the same level of energy, same level of thinking, same level of allowance. This is also a critical part. So, and after the channeling, what happens is, how you could say, well, at first, at the beginning was like, I feel really energy overdosed, really high intense, like dizzy, back of the neck hurts, stomach feels like butterflies, top of the head is so dizzy, and sometimes I couldn't even go to sleep. It was really intense. But lately, right now, when I channel, it's like no problem at all. It's like, okay, my mind doesn't work, head is a little bit dizzy, like in a bucket, you would say. There's no problem at all. I can really do it. But sometimes when I do 2 hours of channeling, it's really difficult. Then it gets overdosing. So I do only hour and 1.5 hours. But that's totally sufficient for those people. But the people in the audience, they also are like, they don't even remember what the Enrico is saying, because he speaks so fast that it's really hard to get in contact what he's telling. It's like you have to pay attention on every word, and your mind works so quickly that you cannot even pay attention so fast. So that's why we do recordings, and then the people watch the playback later on. So, and always after, almost every time after the seminar, it's like I ask a couple of questions to Enrico, and we do a little bit of chat, and then afterwards I fell asleep, and there's like no interest to it at all anymore. And so when I didn't do seminars, it was like, I want to channel somebody, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. But when I'm doing the seminars, it's like, oh, okay, 2 times a week, and I'm completely satisfied. When I enter the room, I get in the channeling state, and then I wake up, and I was like, okay, that's it for me. I went home. I'm going home. I don't think anymore about the channeling. I was like, okay, that's no problem. I'm going home. But at first, at the beginning, when I didn't do channeling, I was like, I want to channel somebody. I'm just sitting home. I want to talk to this, I want to talk to that, I want to chat with this, I want to chat with that, ask me some questions. They're like pushing the people to do channeling with me. But right now, that's really no problem. I'm completely satisfied with the seminars. So, and an offer, if you want to invite me to your planet location of anywhere around the world, I'm more than willing to do abroad channelings. I'm now traveling in cities around Latvia with no problems, and I think I'll want to go to different countries also. It will be really interesting. And another thing which I've understood, that channeling isn't about receiving. Well, no, it's also about that, but most of the time it's just explaining overall information. And when only people like say, but I want to ask about a specific thing, and then Enrico like sharpens his ears. Okay, what do you want to ask? And then they start talking about it. But overall, it's like giving overall information about the topic. For example, if a person asks a question, for example, why do sometimes people feel scared? But the woman is actually thinking about her own situation. But Enrico always answers overall, as if the whole audience is giving, why do people have fears? But on the private channeling, it's different. It's totally different. Sometimes when people come to a private channeling, I don't actually channel at all, because those people are asking just silly questions that they even I don't see a reason in asking about answering any of those. Or sometimes they ask questions like they ask a question and then information is coming, and they ask another question, then another question, then another question, and another question, and you just cannot answer those questions. Sometimes people come and they are like, "Whoa, I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I'm just how do you say, comparing, and so on." It's like, yeah, the private sessions is a little bit. I was thinking about something really exciting, but then it was like silly questions, silly information. So I don't pay any attention to the private seminars, but private channelings. But seminars I really like. So yeah, this is about the channeling, what actually happens in channeling. And right now, at this time of the year, I'm again really busy working with the charity cards. But I think after December I will be totally free to do some more and more online webinars and so on. So thank you for watching. Enjoy.